Good evening, everybody. Tonight we are continuing, of course, what is on everybody's mind is the situation in Eretz Yisrael. And we've had guests who are dealing with this on campus, rabbis who've been to Eretz Yisrael recently and helping to deal with the stress and the mental health issues that are associated with it. And we all are familiar that a week ago today, there was this great march and demonstration. Some estimated as many as 300,000 Jews gathered together in Washington. And as soon as it was announced, Rabbi Flinkenstein, who is the director of Chabad Omet for the last 30 years, signed up himself and his community. And I immediately contacted him and said, we want to have you on our Zoom to talk about this experience. So, Rabbi Flinkenstein, first of all, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Many of us, all of us were following it. Not all of us were able to be there. So thank you, in a sense, for being our representative to this great demonstration. So if you would, please sort of walk us through. You hear about this, I guess, a little bit more than a week ago. What was the process? Just give us a little bit of the logistics about how did you get there? How did you go with other people? Did you take the 15-hour bus ride? Once you get there, like, how do you know where to go? I'm imagining, like, I get there, I don't know, I'm walking around looking for an Uber. So if you could just walk us through that and then give us a little bit or a lot of bit of the picture of what it was like and the energy and the content. Go.
Oh. First of all, thank you, Epstein, for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure. So when we received the message that there is going to be this rally in Washington, it was something that we really wanted to do. It was very important for us to be there. I felt it was important to be there, that there should be representation. We've sent out an email to our community for those who may be interested, that they should reach out. And many did reach out. We had about 25 people who were interested in going. However, finding the logistics, how to actually go to Washington was not so simple, because there were many from the Chicago area who wanted to go there, and there are not that many flights that go directly to Washington. So they were immediately, the prices just went skyrocketing, and there weren't even that many flights available. So it turns out that of all the 25 people who were part of our community that went, for the most part, everyone went their separate ways. There were those who wanted to be there earlier, those who could not be there earlier, those who could not find a direct flight, that had to get a connecting flight. And so we were coming from all different angles, all different places. The Federation was very involved in being able to help with logistics, direct what to do when you get there. So no, we did not Uber. It was much easier taking the metro, but those are just technicalities. That's not what you want to hear about. Because we all came from different areas. What we wanted to do is at least meet up to be able to be there together, but that was impossible. Our flight was a bit delayed. Others came at different times. People came with buses, and so the entire group was scattered all over. We could not see each other there. So what's interesting is that at first we didn't know it was going to be 300,000 people. There's going to be tens of thousands of people that are there. In fact, even those who got up to speak at the rally itself, I would call it more of a rally than a demonstration. Those who spoke at the rally, there were those who even mentioned, oh, there's about 100,000 people here. They had no idea how many people are going to be there. And coming there and seeing a sea of people, it was just totally incredible to see that amount of people that were there. So as I'm walking through to it, on the plane itself, which we didn't know anyone on the plane who was coming with us, but immediately There were those who noticed that we're going to the Washington rally. I don't know how I stood out, but
It's the glasses.
yes. Oh, you're going to the Washington rally, Chazak. So that was immediately throwing a bagel of, hey, how about an opportunity of putting on tefillin now? So we had a few opportunities on the flight. We saw even some non-Jews who were on the flight, who were traveling to the rally, which was very, very heartwarming to see that. As we get to the train station, we go to the metro. There were many, many others who were joining. Many with Israeli flags, with all kinds of banners, with buttons or whatever, what have you, proudly walking through the streets. And now everyone gets to know where everyone is going, because I guess someone in the front must have figured out. I hope
like going to the Kotel Friday night. Just follow the crowd.
Just follow. No, the truth is, I also put it on. I wanted to make sure, so I put it on my phone, on my Google Maps. Exactly where I'm going. So yeah, they were going in the right direction. But as we get there, the amount of security was just incredible. I don't know if it was the National Guard or something, but there were
it wasn't private security. It was
no. You had armored vehicles that were there, and at the intersection where you would have to cross going into the mall, that intersection was blocked off with armored vehicles and salt trucks. Try and get someone to batter through a salt truck.
Did you have to show any ID? Did you have to
Yes.
register?
So that was an interesting question. Before the rally itself, the Federation did reach out to all the organizations. There were about 2,500 Chicagoans that came from 42 different organizations, and we picked up, these little bracelets.
Where do you pick them up? Where do you pick up the bracelets? I mean, I'm just so.
We picked them up before you went.
Where? You had to go to Federation downtown?
We went to the JCC on Howard, on the Howard, on TUI.
Okay.
And picked up our bracelets. Those who could not make it there were able to pick it up in Washington before the rally. But there were many who came without knowing that they had to sign up for it and get their bracelet. So when they got there, they couldn't get in.
Oh my gosh!
For one part, my son Avremel, together with his two brothers-in-law, who were traveling from Pomona to DC, they didn't know they had to have bracelets. They got there, they couldn't get in.
Oh man!
So in any case, there were still screens. Even when you got to the mall, you didn't see the stage. You got to see massive screens because we were there, like kind of in the middle of the 300,000 people. So there were massive, massive screens all over the place. So they were outside the mall itself with massive screens there too, and they just set up a tefillin stand right there. So
was there any
there were
unrest?
thousands that were outside that place itself. So when they say there were 290,000 inside there were probably about 10,000 who didn't have bracelets, which make up the 300,000.
Was there any unrest? We've seen here, these quote counter protests. Was any
counter
of that
protests?
going?
No, I did not see them. I know they were there because when we were at the mall and there were like moments, there was a moment of silence. You got to hear, like, from the other side of the mall itself is flanked by buildings, museums on both sides. Those counter protests were not right near the mall; they were on the other sides. On the other side, so on the other side of the building, you got to hear from some of that noise, but it was totally insignificant, completely insignificant. So I just want to point out that the incredible sense of achdus, unity, oneness. We tried to connect with those who were there, tried to call them. There were so many people who were concentrated in one area. There was no cell service. It collapsed. So we managed to text someone, where are you? Impossible to get to see anyone. But you got a sense of feeling, even though we weren't together, we were all one, incredibly one, from all different levels of observance, different ends of the spectrum, political spectrum, all different kinds of signs, right wing, left wing. It was one, gathered together as Jews, as one, united with Israel and united as Jews, proud to be Jewish. We got the feeling of we may be the smallest nation, but we are the largest family. You know, a lot of these thoughts is really upon reflection afterwards of what we experienced. When you're there, the only thing I really managed to feel while I was there is that oneness and the sea of people looking from one side to another and seeing the sea of people that you're in. And I was at a rally. I forget what it was. It was an Israel rally, probably 20 years ago in Washington, and it was very different than this one. This one had a lot of thought and sensitivity in planning this event. So, for example, the singing was with substance. They had the Israeli superstar Yishai Ribo, who performed in the beginning for the college students, and then he sung in the middle. But he took the opportunity of using the time for the singing to collectively say a psalm of Tehillim.
Oh, nice.
So we all said we said the Psalm 121 all together. He led it. It was very moving. Everyone then sang together with the Maccabees, Achenu Kol B'nai Yisrael, praying for the release of the hostages. To sing that all together with hundreds of thousands of people together, it was so moving. Then there was a surprise performance by Matisyahu. He came back.
Just to fill in, Matisyahu is an interesting character. He's a Hasidic reggae singer, had been, and he was incredibly popular about 15 years ago. He wouldn't perform on Shabbos with his beard and his hat and his kapata. Unfortunately, his life has taken some twists and turns, and he's sort of fallen out of the Jewish community. And to hear that he's reappeared, I mean, he was the biggest thing going, even in the secular world 15 years ago. And with his beard and his hat, not playing on Shabbos, and his life took some different paths. So that's very, very meaningful that he has resurfaced.
He resurfaced, and he sang his popular song "One Day."
One day, yeah.
One day, a day of about a day, a time of Mashiach. One day when there will be peace, true peace. Yeah. Everyone was singing together, and then in a spontaneous expression of soul, of neshama, he declared at the end, he yelled out, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That, like, wow. Everyone said it together. That was totally amazing. Unexpected and totally amazing. You really got to see and experience me, Ka'amcha Yisrael, who are like your people, Israel. You saw tefillin stands all over the place. People putting on tefillin, one after the other. One person, my wife who was with me, she overheard a guy next to him saying, tefillin, yeah, I put on 3 times today already. So my wife to turn around and says, my husband's right here, he has his tefillin, I'm doing a 4th time. But they were prepared for that as well, because there are many who had booths who prepared stickers. And like, I voted, I put on tefillin today.
It's like an iPad.
So not to
you
be
get to go
bothered.
right through the crowd. Don't bother me. I'm good.
Yeah, but there were some people who were prepared and came with a sign, I put on tefillin.
That's amazing.
They knew what they were going to be up against. I saw many many girls walking around, passing around packets for lighting Shabbat candles. So that was very moving. It was also very special to see the majority of the crowd were probably younger, or 30 and younger.
Wow, that isn't
At least 50% of the crowd were 30 and younger. That was very impressive. Beautiful to see that. Chabad on campus had a very strong presence there. They brought together 3,500 college students. That was totally amazing. You had, of the speakers, some were more political, some less political, very moving and heartbreaking speeches were from the parents of the hostages. And for those who may not have heard, Chabad of Israel arranged the day before. They turned to the parents of the hostages, family members of the hostages. What can they do for them? And many wanted to have a place where they can pray. And so it was suggested, how about going to the Ohel? Would you be willing to go to the Ohel, to the Rebbe's resting place, and go there? And certainly they did. So this was in preparation for Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which is a day that celebrated for the Rebbe's recovery, that they would come on that day to the Ohel. So it just turns out that coming to the Ohel on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the day before Rosh Chodesh Kislev, works out that from there they were able to go to the rally in Washington, which was the very first time that El Al landed in Washington, D.C. Because there are no flights from Washington, El Al flights direct from Washington to Israel, and El Al doesn't fly domestic. So it was the first time that El Al landed in D.C., and that was arranged from Chabad, by Chabad of Israel. So those speeches were very, very moving, heartbreaking speeches. One of the most moving ones was from Rachel Goldberg. Some of you may know her. She's originally from Chicago. Her mother-in-law, Leah Poland, some of you may know. In any case.
Her cousin davens in our shul.
Yep.
Lori, people know Lori. That's her cousin.
So her speech was very to the point for like 3.5 minutes, but oh my gosh, it was heartbreaking, to the point, and really touched everyone's hearts. There were many speeches that were moving. One which was outstanding, in my opinion, was from Deborah Lipstadt, who
Special Ambassador on Anti-Semitism.
Right. She said a very important point, that the way to combat anti-Semitism is not by cowering, is not by hiding our Judaism. On the contrary, it's the opposite. We have to be more open with our Judaism, and that's how you combat anti-Semitism. And you got to feel that there. Everyone was so proud and open to be Jewish. So one of the reflections that I had afterwards, aside from everyone being so proud, was, all the security that was there. Who was that security for? Now imagine, picture this. If you were to have any other kind of quote-unquote demonstration, because that's what it was called in the papers. In the media, it was called more of a demonstration. I wouldn't call it a demonstration, it was called more of a rally. If you had 300,000 people demonstrating together, what would be the concern to have police there? It wouldn't be to protect them. It would be to protect the city. Clearly, the security that was there was not to protect the city. On the way out, everyone was thanking the security. In fact, there was a post someone shared afterwards that someone asked one of the police officers, share what your impression was. And his response was, I got a career's worth of thank yous in one shift. Think about that. That is who we're talking about. Everyone was so appreciative. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you, God bless you. They couldn't respond with "you're welcome" fast enough. Another thing which I reflected upon afterward was the flags. Obviously, there were Israeli flags all over, but there were many American flags. Contrast that with the opposition. How many American flags do you see in their rallies, in their protests? In fact, you see them taking down the American flags. So again, this is a clear picture to anyone who wants to know which side should you be on as an American. I did see a post of someone had a pin wearing "I'm an anti-Semite," which I thought also that was a little bit sad, because that is not what our identity should be. Our identity is not that we're anti-Semites, to know who we are and what we stand for. And that was really what Deborah Lipstadt's one of her points was, of being openly Jewish and not being afraid to be Jewish openly. Ultimately, when I got back, when we left, and when got back on the plane, going to the airport, it was very nice to see that there were like hundreds and thousands going on the train together to the airport. Many even were wearing their Israeli flags. But what was a sad moment for me was I wanted to find out which terminal my flight was at. So I was at the information desk at the airport, and someone was before us at the information desk. And I noticed that before he approached the information desk, he took his Star of David and put it back inside. And that to me was very sad, because on the one hand, it was a beautiful moment, because here he was proud and unafraid to express his Judaism openly. But here in this moment, it was about going back to a different world, going back to a world where I'm not very comfortable expressing my Judaism. So we have a lot of work to do. At this time, people their neshamas, their souls, are very open and feeling that oneness, feeling proud of who they are as Jews. There is some trepidation, which this is something we have to work on, inspire others to openly be Jewish. And as we approach now Hanukkah soon, this is an opportunity of proudly displaying our menorahs, proudly going to public settings of menorahs to express our Judaism openly. One other reflection I had regarding the rally as well is that, we say like at the end of when you finish a tractate, we do these things and they do these things. Anu v'heim. And just as, so we had the American flags, they have no American flags. When we talk about having a protest and having a rally, what is the focus? So there's this moral equivalence out there that we're both going out to war. And so there's moral equivalence, and the two cannot be further apart, because one lives to fight and one fights to live. One is going to battle to achieve peace, whereas the other is yelling for peace in order to prepare for battle. So there is no moral equivalence. And that was something that was expressed. That we have to support Israel in every way, shape, or form, because we got to see one other thing in this rally, and that is clearly Israel equals Judaism. Judaism equals Israel. That it's all about Judaism. And the notion of being anti-Zionist is anti-Semitism. But at the core of it all, you cannot strip Israel from Judaism. Judaism is at the core. And if we try and strip it away and just say it's secular, we got to see from all of this, there's no such thing as secular component of Zionism. It's Judaism, period. And that's the battle of Simchas Torah. That's what we are at. Judaism is at the focus. And so it was very special to be there. And to put into perspective, the 300,000, if we can think about that, that was 5% of the United States Jewish population. That means 1 out of 20 Jews in the United States were at this rally. Or on a greater scale, if you can imagine, 1 out of 50 Jews worldwide were at that rally. And again, putting that into perspective, if we would have 5% of Americans at this rally, that would be 16.5 million people. So 5% of the Jewish population, that's a huge number. That's the largest amount that ever came to a pro-Jewish rally.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've been at that rally right now, so thank you. If anyone wants to unmute and ask a quick question, we do want to be respectful of the rabbi's time. Thank you. I feel like I'm at the rally now. You really painted a beautiful word picture. If anybody wants to jump in quickly with a question, otherwise I told the rabbi 15 minutes, it's been half an hour. So we really appreciate your time and your description. It really gives us that feeling of Am Yisrael Chai. So thank you for representing the Chicago community by going with your community. And let's say
thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. And I sent you a link. Are you aware of the news?
I'm sorry, aware of the news?
I sent Rabbi Epstein a link. Are you aware of the news, the breaking news?
I don't know.
What about the
Is this a quiz?
Rabbi Epstein?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have the link that I sent you?
I'm on. No.
We have breaking news.
You want to tell us?
Yeah. So a ceasefire and 50 hostages released. Being released.
Okay.
Well, they didn't release them yet. That's what they're talking about. 50 hostages and the ceasefire for 5 days, for 4 days, and then they're talking about an additional 10 for each other day of ceasefire. But
yeah,
let's
Let's
bring them home. But make sure
Yeah.
that.
But I just wanted to make sure we're leaving on a good note there too. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Otherwise, we'll say goodnight to the rabbi. We want to thank you, Rabbi Flinkenstein, for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see everyone
Pleasure to
tomorrow
be
night,
here.
Wednesday for
Honor.
Tehillim. Thank you. And as you said, Am Yisrael Chai. And God should comfort the mourners and bring home the captives. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you again, everybody. Good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night.